Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of Derry, Londonderry, with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, will make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gaelic Lives podcast. You're very welcome to our preview show, and we're looking ahead at the two big Ulster Championship games coming up this weekend. We've Fermanagh taking on Down on Saturday night and Monaghan hosting Donegal on Sunday. I have two men that know all about these games. Beside me I have Shane King and Kieran Hughes, so we're going to look at both, all the ins and outs and the possibilities. So we'll start with Fermanagh and Down, and Shane, you're obviously the perfect man to have in to talk about this one.
I don't know about that. I haven't seen as much Down football as I would have wanted this last while now, but obviously I'm back sort of helping out and doing a bit of coaching with Liston Ski, and obviously I have a nephew within the Fermanagh squad, so I've been speaking to him a few times, so I'd like to know what's happening.
And it's a big game, Shane. We're 3 championship games in already, so championship everybody's looking forward to getting started, I'm sure, and from on and down.
Well, a championship is the shop window, and every player wants to be part, and you know the weather gets better, people are optimistic, it's getting closer to holidays for a lot of people, so and you know the championship is where it's all at. The last time we spoke was before the first league game, and I said football's played in the present tense. Once the league is out of the way and that relegation promotion, all eyes are on the championship. Even with the way things work in Ulster, the Ulster Championship is still the be on and end all. All you have to see is players speaking over the weekend of how important an Ulster Championship is. That's one of the honours that they want to have by the time they finish. So it's exciting. Fermanagh obviously in division lower, Down probably had very good performances but came out on the bad end of results. So on that basis you would have to say Down will probably come in as probably favourites. And saying that, Fermanagh, they're just back from their training camp. I believe things went very well. I think an awful lot. Ulton Callum may not make it. He seems to be the main scoring threat from play. My concern would be what player would really frighten a defender other than Ulton. He's the one player that attacks the black spot instead of taking the long road down. He's hard to mark. He's unpredictable. I think Cassidy's been going fantastic for Fermanagh. The midfield has been very competitive, but I would just wonder if Down defence are very disciplined and they stand off and put pressure on, would Fermanagh score enough from play to really challenge the result?
I think the big thing, or one of the big talking points coming in here, is the fact it's in Brewster Park, and Kieran, just in Fermanagh's Division 3 campaign, they've yet to lose at home, whether that be in Brewster or in Ederney, so home advantage, is it a huge thing in the Ulster Championship, particularly as Shane said, Fermanagh are probably the underdogs this weekend?
Yeah, no, it's massive advantage. I think the two of them will be looking at their leagues, and they'll be fairly content at the end of it all. Down very unlucky to get relegated on 6 points, and Fermanagh, very unlucky probably not to go up. If they had a better start to the league, they would have potentially been up and around that. But Shane said, as soon as the league's over, it's full focus on this game this weekend, and the Brewster Roar will definitely be there on Saturday evening, and 50-50 as far as I'm concerned at the moment. The two of them, at the end of the day, they're going to be in the same division next year, and there's very little between them teams and results, as you can see over the last number of weeks. But Kieran Donnelly and the boys now will be fairly focused this week, and knowing that this is a massive game for Fermanagh to get through now to the next round.
And Shane, Kieran said they're going to be in Division 3. Both of them's going to be in Division 3 next year. This year, Fermanagh were down there, Down were Division 2. Last year, Fermanagh were Division 2, Down were Division 3. So the two sides, they're sort of in around the same level, you would say.
But even in the games that they've played in recent years, there's been very little in it. I think did Fermanagh edge it last year in Ederney. Again, Brewster Park, Fermanagh, they'll obviously be training as much as they can there this week. I think in terms, I always thought as a forward, it's the home advantage, and I was a free taker, and the more frees, the more shots you can get taken in your home ground. You're used to the sod. The crowd is that little bit better. Down have never really did that well in Brewster Park. If I go back, I remember Ryan Carson playing from Newtown Butler caused them a lot of bother. So Down will not want to come there. At the same time, the players will want to prove that they should not have been relegated. I thought at the weekend the difference in the leagues was apparent as the game progressed. The level of skill as bodies started to fatigue was apparent. Decision making time on the ball. Now will Down, having played in that higher division at a slightly higher intensity, be any better? But again, there's been nothing between Fermanagh and Down. For me, Fermanagh will need to come out of the blocks flying. They don't want Down to get a run of 4 or 5 points because they'll get their tails up. Fermanagh need to be competitive. I think they'll break even in the middle of the field. I think the longer kick out will suit them. Joe McDade has been phenomenal this year for them. It's whether or not they can dominate in midfield and then get into this attack. I think without that scoring forward, they're going to heavily rely on the midfielders. They're both him and McGurn are big men. I would imagine they'll join the attack, and I expect to see a lot of long diagonal balls to try and see them runners. Even their half back line has been very good. I mean, there was a couple of goals came out of their half back line throughout the league campaign. But again, it should be competitive, and I think when you look at the fixtures so far, this is probably two teams at a more similar level. I think even you talk about Armagh and Antrim put in a sterling effort. But none of us were surprised to see Armagh eventually pulling away at the end, and there was only 4 or 5 of the team that started the All Ireland. Even I thought Cavan may be disappointed in themselves at the weekend, but we expected Tyrone to do what they did. Where this Fermanagh Down is probably the hardest one. If I were a betting man and I was to take my Fermanagh heart out of it, it could be a tough one to call.
Something, Kieran, it's probably the Down mindset going into this, because we're talking about league and the fact they were relegated, but unluckily, I think you said that earlier, unluckily to be relegated because they performed so well and done so well in so many games. But it's probably that mentality of okay, they've gone down, but they know they can compete at a higher level and they'll carry that into the championship.
Yeah, I think the big one was the last 10 minutes against Monaghan. They were winning the game fairly handily. Monaghan came back, got to a draw game. You would have been thinking the team at the top of the table would have drove on to win it, but Down grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. A couple of long kick-outs, flicked on over the top. They got the vital scores to win the game. And to me, that was enough to tell me that these boys are moving in the right direction. The league's a ruthless business. If you don't get off to a good start, unfortunately, you've only 6-7 games to get up to speed. And you can be found wanting. But them last 10 minutes now, from what I've seen against Monaghan, it's going to be vital now for Laverty's side come this weekend, because if that game's nip and tuck come 15-10 to go, whatever, the weekend, I think they're going to have the confidence now that they can push on. And Shane has highlighted there that Fermanagh could struggle to scores if Ulton is not about now. So again, this time of year now, when the ball gets that wee bit warmer and it goes that extra wee bit of distance, I think you're going to see a lot more boys taking them 2-pointers on. So I'm on the fence at the moment with what's going on, because it's going to be completely different ball skills in the next couple of weeks now with lads. But
you can see the game lengthening even at the weekend. And I thought that the 4 wing players, especially for Tyrone, their ability to kick 35-40 yards, and it's not a kick, it's a pass. When working at club level, sometimes there's a massive difference between a pass and a kick into the forward line. The one thing that I would say about that Down Monaghan game, and this query I had, Monaghan were already promoted, and had they have needed to win that game, would that alter? Now the last 10 minutes you can only judge it on that.
Yeah.
And that's after that result, I was just thinking, I wonder if Monaghan had needed that, because when they're already comfortable, and the league's nearly over, we've got our promotion, and Down at that stage, Down didn't know that they thought the win might have kept them up.
Mm-hmm.
So they had more to fight for that day. But again, I don't think Down weren't beaten by any more than 2 points in any game. There was nobody got a run on them, so they definitely played at the Monaghan are moving up, and Down have recently shown that they can compete at that level too. So it will be an interesting contest.
And I think Shane was saying we're maybe struggling to see where Fermanagh scores are coming from. We know where the large majority of Down scores are coming from. That's Pat Haverin. He scored 60, I think, he had him for in 7 games. So he's their top scorer. He's enjoying the 2-point arc. He's going to be somebody that Fermanagh's going to have to pay down.
I think you've 2 boys in a full back line there now that'll be looking at nice clips this week now. No 2 better men to go and suss him out and find out a couple of things about him maybe and trying to put him off his game. So that'll be something this weekend. Now it'll be a serious match-up now, and see what way they get on. Like, but Pat seems to be the sort of boy that loves this time of year too, and loves a bit of attention now. So it'll be the midfield battle. I think the weekend will be massive. Like, a couple of big men around there now, and be interesting to see whoever comes out on top of the breaks now will be the winner, I'd imagine.
I assume that's the Collins that Kieran's talking about picking up Pat.
Yeah, but again, for me, I think the big thing is Fermanagh putting pressure on the middle third to prevent the quality ball going in. If he gets good ball in, it's a damage limitation, and especially now, and even I think it was twice at the weekend we seen the 4-up being called straight away, so you can't load the defence to stop a quality player like that. But again, I think Fermanagh will be very competitive on the kickouts, and it's about whoever wins the break ball and delivers straight away. I think we talked in the last day about transition with a kick. If you win a break ball and get that ball in early, before the defences can get an extra man in, down you can probably vary the running game and kicking game. I can't see weather would change either team much. They're both fairly predictable in the style they'll do. I'd like to see Fermanagh's sort of switch transition a little bit better in previous games, and especially last year they're winning the ball and going sideways. With this 4-up rule or 3-up 4-back, getting that ball in early is more important. The league was a bit wet and windy conditions at the start, but I think over the weekend with the good weather, for me the team that wins break ball and delivers that kick pass in is already in the ascendancy.
And I think Kieran mentioned that just the big bodies around the middle of the field, like that, the break ball is going to be such a key issue. And I suppose you'd mentioned Down's running game, like the likes of the McGills there, Ryan and Danny McGill. You have Owen Murdoch in around the middle of the field, Caleb Doherty, Micheál Rooney. Like, there's legs everywhere, and they're all comfortable scoring as well.
Mooney comes in at some stage, with blister and pace. You've played for 40 minutes, and someone with those legs comes onto you. But yet at the same time, they'll also be looking to lengthen their game. They know that the earlier they can get the ball into the full forward line, the more hay that they'll make too. So, again, just like Kieran, I think the midfield battle will be immense. If Joe McDade can dominate kickouts the way he has in the last couple of league games, and I believe even the way he's training, he seems to be really on form.
And Sean McNally will be a big part of that too, Shane. Obviously coming up and kicking points the last day too.
Yeah. Again, it's where it's the variance of scores. The Fermanagh, they really need a spread. Everybody really have to lift their efforts in the absence of Ulton Kellan. If Ulton was to be available, we give a lift. Now he hasn't played much football, and that would be a worry throwing somebody in at this stage. But we'll see.
And I suppose, Kieran, I know you were telling me off air you played your first club league game of the weekend there.
I'd rather not talk about it.
How do you find it in terms of the 3-up, the kick-outs, the 2-point arc? That was your first experience of it, you were saying, so what do you make of the new rules so far?
Yeah, no, some of us hadn't even trained in the last number of weeks with it. We were just sort of trying to get a wee bit of volume built up in the body to get us back in, but it was a wee bit like a headless chicken going in yesterday. You were looking around me the whole time and trying to be aware of who's in the tree and whatnot. But the opposition team were you knew they were fairly at it already the last number of months, and they were so tuned into everything. So we'll hopefully be able to take a wee bit of what they were at, and take the next couple of months. But I'm definitely loving the contest now. It was the first time I went running for a couple of kickouts yesterday for the first time in a long time, because look, at the last previous years teams were getting it chipped away and you were just always on the back foot, and loving the 2-point arc. I had a couple of strikes yesterday at some, and when I was watching the last couple of weeks I was just look, I definitely kicked them, but I came to yesterday now, it's a tight enough kick now, so it is as much as it's easy watching on when you're out of breath and you're not focused and the concentration's not there now. It's a big strike, so it is. But again, all depends on conditions.
You landed them against Trillick.
Unfortunately, conditions wise, that suited that day now. But it is a condition thing, and I said to one of the boys in the bench yesterday, just during the game, I was like, it actually depends a lot on the toss now. Like the whole team talk can change before a game. However, if you win the toss and you're flicking that grass and that wind is going directly down, you need to get the boys in and go, right boys, we are going for it here. Do not be afraid to shoot, But on the flip side of that, there you lose that toss, you have to take them in. But like, we have to be so careful with the ball here, like, and no giving it away and letting teams get in that transition, like, because ground hardening up this time of year. You can see Donegal last week and Derry boys, they're moving completely different. They're just so powerful across the ground nowadays, like, and it's scary, some of the pace now that when that ground sort of gets a wee bit like concrete, boys just can start going like a road runner.
I think that middle eight, it's just the importance of athleticism in that middle eight, the ground that they're covering in. I suppose, you know, if I'd like to be one of the three up and conserving my sprints, you know, like you make your 8 or 9 sprints, but that middle eight, you know, and there isn't much differentiation between their roles. One thing about the Breeze is, you know, I'm involved in the club, we're trying to nominate the guys we want on the 2-point arc, maybe more so at club level, because guys need to know their limitations, and with the Breeze it's almost a different line out, because everyone will still identify 1 or 2 players that they want to be defensive forwards. You'll have your 3 guys that in an ideal world you are going to stay up. Even the organisation, when the defenders start to attack, to make sure that, you know, like I was involved in a club game last week where the full back decided he was going to go. He was like Bilbo Baggins off in his adventure. Once he crossed the halfway line, he didn't know what to do. But it's just, there is a lot of organisation. So what we were doing, you sort of nominate one defender that orchestrates and communicates. Stay, come back, go. You've someone in the line doing it.
You nearly need somebody on each line.
Each line, you've someone in the forward line, someone around the middle, and someone in the back, just to help communicate. Now, I think so far referees have been very good. Some of the communication has been good. We took a referee down to the club on Friday night, just and asked what are the things we need to be aware of. I think the tap and go at club level, the descent, that's going to be a game changer too. I can't for the life understand why any defender would want to kick a ball when he can tap and go and then kick it.
Yeah.
You know, if you've with the Breeze, it speeds up the game. I'd be interested to see this season the time of ball in play, what difference that will make to the stats. You know, now the other side of things, if you want to slow a game down, you know, you can still do it. But the tap and go for anyone chasing a game is brilliant. The 2-point arc, again, as you can see, a couple of scores, like 6 points is not a big lead anymore.
No.
You know, if you win at half time and you're 6 points up, the other team is the Breeze. Like, it's not the fact, right, we're going to load defence, because we can't. You have to keep attacking. And I mean, for me, one of the great things about Gaelic football is you can't defend leads. You must keep pushing forward, or you're going to be found wanting at the end of the game.
I think that's a big thing, Kieran. There's no such thing as the game being over at half time nearly now.
No.
It's going to be with the 2-pointers, you're always in with a chance.
Yeah, that's the joys of it all now, and that's going to be in the learning for me in the next number of weeks, because it's easy to look at the scoreboard and think, well, we're 6-7 behind here, we'll let it sit today, we'll get back to the training ground and worry about it. But that them 2-pointers now is
but especially from Monaghan, probably might have scored, like, you look at from frees, like every team playing against Monaghan will say, look, we cannot foul almost within our own half. If they've the Breeze, you can't foul in your half back line the way Beggin's kicking the ball. Which is brilliant, and like Monaghan have definitely taken advantage of that in the league.
Big time, yeah, absolutely blessed to have him at club and county, like, and when I didn't have him yesterday, like, some difference, like, you're making runs, like, fairness to our second goalkeeper, he's brilliant too, like, but it's great to play without him sometimes too. It makes you appreciate it a lot more at times, like. But Monaghan have definitely used that to their advantage, like, and he'll take that pressure on board too. Like, it's a big pressure to handle. Like, he misses his first one, he's going to bite in his ear too, like, and see what way he handles.
The only thing he does handle pressure very well. There has been days where he would miss one and kick 3 phenomenal. He's one of those players. You know, you have certain players, if they miss the first shot, their game disappears. Like, he's just ice cold, and every kick is his own kick. You know, you look at the kick against Kilcoo, some of the ones that he has taken over the years. Yeah. He's almost emotionless when he does it.
And that Kilcoo one, like, he was having a poor second half of kicking, like, first half of kicking that day, and he just got himself settled. And there was an interview after, he just goes, "No, I put a lot of pressure on myself," like, and but look, I keep saying it, he's size 13 boot here, this man, like, and he's suffocating this poor size 5. So
we're getting into Donegal Monaghan chat. We'll just get predictions off his first before we move on. Kieran, I'll come to you first. For Monaghan and down, who do you see coming out on top of it?
I think that's going to be a close one. just think with the injuries maybe and bits and pieces going on for Fermanagh now, I'm going to go for maybe a 3 to 4 point down win.
Shane, what do you think?
Unfortunately, I think that the way down we're so competitive in every game. Fermanagh were a little bit inconsistent. They finished strong, and I do think albeit they've been up and down, I think there is a slight gap in every league. Fermanagh will need everything to go well. They could win. Had they a full deck, they probably should. But I just, head and heart, I just think with the way down played against Monaghan, they were very unlucky in some of the late games that they did lose. I would have to think that at this stage you could see them by a point or two. But if Fermanagh are to win, nobody would be happier than me.
Yeah, I suppose you probably have to remember too. Down are definitely in the All-Ireland group stages too. They're not going to be talking about that this week. That it's an absolute must winner. They'll obviously want an Ulster Championship, but it's definitely an incentive maybe just for Fermanagh maybe to get an extra wee edge on them now.
So 2 cautious votes, I think, for down is the way we'll leave it. So we're going to go into part 2. It'll be Monaghan and Donegal. We're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors first, and then we'll be back in part 2.
Experience hospitality the Northwest way at the Everglades Hotel. Located on the banks of the River Foyle, the Everglades Hotel is just minutes from the centre of Derry, Londonderry, with free on-site guest car parking. Whether you're here for a family meal, a big celebration, or simply a peaceful retreat, will make your experience as memorable as the sights in the city. Visit Everglades Hotel Derry for accommodation bookings, the latest menus, live shows and events, and much, much more. See you there.
So Monaghan and Donegal, Kieran, this is the big one. When I think of Monaghan and Donegal, I think of them Ulster finals in Clonus, over 10 years ago now at this stage, and they were some of the best days I'm sure you ever had in a Monaghan jersey. Yeah,
absolutely. And Maliki would have kept saying at that time, like, you're living the best days of your lives here, and they're not going to last forever, and they'll be over in a flash. And was 23 or 4 around that time, and I was sort of looking, going, no, we'll be in more Ulster finals than this, like. And 2015 was the last time, or 2016 was the last time Monaghan and Donegal played in Ulster Championship, like. So I think that's nearly 9-10 years ago, like, crazy stuff. But yeah, serious memories. Now I did a wee bit of reflecting last week. Now I was speaking to a couple of other people about them, like, but they were up there now, the best days of your life, 100%. Now the unbelievable buzz about the county, and it was needed back then. Like, there was, you're playing Division 3 football, like, and things weren't going great the year previous, like, and Maliki came in and gave the place a serious lift now, and probably could have got over the line a couple of more, but again, glad to get a couple of them too, because they ain't simple got now.
And I think you'd have been picking up Eamon McGee would have picked up you during those years. You'd have been in full forward at that time.
Yeah,
good
and
crack.
Again, that was pure crack with that man. Like, we keep saying it too. Like, he had plenty of cover in front of him too. Like, that's probably why he got all chatty and confident and stuff. Like, but good fella. Cross the white line and without the football now, he's a serious good fella. In any interviews he does or anything, like, he can listen to him. Like, he talks sensible football. He knows his football. Like, and some great battles. We didn't think that go as quick over the years, like, but looking back now, there were some tense times now, and some stuff said that couldn't be said again. But that's what happens across the white line. So it is now. But
Kieran, while that was an era of blanket defences and 15 behind the ball, there were some great one-on-one battles. There's yourself and Eamon, there's Neil McGee and Conor McManus, Vinnie Corey and Michael Murphy. Like, there was some tremendous. That's probably why that rivalry stood out so much, because there was them sort of old-fashioned one-on-one battles.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and Jim had brought a system that was very, very, very hard to break down, and we always were trying to come up with stuff and looking at our personnel to see what way we could break it down. And we probably went the old school way about it in 2013, and we drove long ball in, and thankfully it worked. And it was just pure luck with conditions and everything. The ball was sticking, and if there had been rain around, there's no way you would have been able to do it. You just had to go back and go parallel with the ball and try and work them down and wear them out. Like, but they were a tough team to wear out. Now they were on song now and absolutely on it back then. Like, and every great team has an off day, and they had an off day in one of them finals in 13. Like, but they quickly regrouped and got themselves set and went steaming towards an All-Ireland final in 14, which can't be forgot. Like, and look, any team he's over, Jim, he's them absolutely just bouncing. He's them. It's football, nothing else other than football is going on in your lives here at the moment, and they're getting their just rewards for it now.
Jim's record in Ulster, that 2013 Ulster final as you talk about, Kieran, that's his only loss, and this is his 6th season in the Ulster Championship, Shane, so it's fairly incredible.
Yeah, I think, well, this current Donegal squad, they'll be concentrating on present tense, and that'll be a long time ago now. It was phenomenal, and I mean, Monaghan to me were the Rocky Balboa. Teams had them beat, they were gone, and they'd come back into it. I think that Monaghan team had great ability with Kieran to win long ball, but some of the shooting from distance in around that time, some of McManus's scores in them couple of years, if you stood off him, he kicked it over the bar. If you tried to tackle him, he went round you, and they were able to mix it up. And that Monaghan team probably really stood up to the physicality that Donegal had, and that sort of, you know, it didn't affect them, you know. And you rode your luck when you stayed, of course, that there. But I thought that was immense. You know, I wouldn't say that they were very deserving of everything they got, that Monaghan team. You know.
And I suppose looking ahead to this weekend, they're both in great form. Seeing Donegal maybe pulling the handbrake up a wee bit in Division 1 once they were safe, just given they didn't want to reach the league final because it was so close to the championship. In Division 2, Monaghan pushed on, they won the title, they won in Croke Park, they got a national title, and I suppose looking back at last year, Donegal done the same thing, went and won Division 2 and it worked out. They went and won Ulster in All-Ireland semi-final, so Monaghan, they're probably looking at that and saying, you know, that's the avenue we can go down. The last 2 All-Ireland champions have come from Division 2, so Monaghan are in great form and a great place to be ahead of the championship.
Yeah, and given this time last year, you know, you're down the dumps, nobody talking about you, media had forgotten completely about you, and that was the thing with Monaghan. Like, as soon as you were gone, There was people never would have thought you'd get back up again, and maybe some of the players thought that too. But looking about the team at the moment, there's this really, really good balance of, you know, pace, experience, you know, a bit of flair as well. Like, and I think that's absolutely imperative for any team that's going to progress through the championship. Like, but you know, we're not going to get too ahead of it either. Like, it's a Division 2 title at the end of the day, but a lot of them players needed experience in Croke Park that day, so they had to go and try and win the game. Whereas coming at the game the week after, they were probably maybe potentially pulling up the handbrake and looking after players and whatnot, because the championship's more important. But you can never turn down a wee bit of silverware when it's there. Like, but Monaghan's going to need to be absolutely on it this weekend. Like, you can't take this for granted. Like, it's, if they're off it, they're losing, and Donegal will need to be off it, and Monaghan absolutely on it to win it. Like, but it's happened before. But as Shane said, that's past tense. That's 10 years, whatever, 12 years ago. There's 2 new teams here, new rules. 2 teams are going to be looking at video clips all last week, all this week now, of how to nitpick around the kickouts and how to get the 100% possession from a score and stuff like that there. So intriguing battle ahead. I just hope Donegal don't get a big lead early on and come out with that energy that can surprise Monaghan. Like, but I have full belief now that there's enough around that dressing room at the moment that they can pull something out of the bag this weekend. Like, and Donegal will be fairly aware of that too, so they will.
I think Donegal's squad depth as well, Shane, has been something remarkable this year. Like, they left out Oisín Gallen the last day, which I know I said in our review show there's not many teams in the country could get away with that. They had Michael Murphy starting. Now I'll probably get both your opinions on this. Does he start? Is this a thing that is he going to start the rest of the campaign, or is he going to maybe come in as an impact sub this week and start the next day? How do you see it?
I think Michael Murphy would depend on who the opposition is. If you want to get a lead up and get a team out of the way and hold them at arm's length, you start with him. If you're going to play against a team where you think it's going to come down to the wire, you want him coming on the way he did against Armagh in the league, the impact that he had. I think both teams have very different realistic aspirations and expectations. I mean, if you look at Monaghan, the way they were last year, one of their realistic expectations was to come out of Division 2, gain promotion. They've achieved that. In terms of their championship, they'll want to be competitive. Monaghan won't be disappointed, as in, we thought we were going to win Ulster. Realistic, they're not contenders, but they will want to be as competitive as they can. Donegal this year, it's all about the championship. you said pulled the handbrake up. They quite literally seemed that they didn't want the interference of a league final. This is their championship year. Their players will be talking about, boys, this game has to be won. You look at the players that they don't make squads that come into it. You mean Donegal, realistically, their expectations, they would think we should be beating a Division 2 team that's come up. But again, as I said, Monaghan over the years, and I played Monaghan I think 4 or 5 times in the championship, and the time you could be up by 6 or 7 points, they just will not quit. They're like that younger brother that keeps following you, and even though there's transition this year, so there'll always be that quality. And like Monaghan are tenacious in defence, and as I said, they've always been fit to kick scores from distance. If you're not clinical and you're fouling, with these 2-pointers, like 3 or 4 2-pointers, the game has just changed dynamic. I think Donegal, however, will be incredibly disciplined in the tackle. They'll want to remove that armoury, and I think that their counter-attack and the ground that they cover, Monaghan will need a full squad, because to defend against those runners and stuff, it's going to take a massive toll on the body. Even with Monaghan being competitive, I would imagine that Donegal will have massive possession, and Monaghan will be trying to defend in numbers, break, win freeze, regroup. So that's the way I see it going.
Just that pace in around the middle that you're talking about, Shane, I suppose on Donegal's side we're looking at Ram McHugh coming forward.
It's everywhere now. It used to be 1 or 2. That Donegal team, it's coming from everywhere, and you hear some of the stories that the training sessions that they're doing. It's and again, Jim has guys in reserve that cover the same amount of ground. He's asking for more subs because he wants to keep that running game. As soon as someone shows sign of fatigue, I'm going to take you out, I'm going to put somebody else in. Everybody knows the system, and the machine keeps going.
I think Monaghan would probably feel there's something similar, Kieran, in terms of the half back line. You've McCarthy back there, Ryan McInnesby, Bowman forward to seen the goal Ryan McInnesby created it in the league final. So them bodies, the speed, the pace, the power in that middle third, it's going to be brilliant to watch from a neutral point of view.
Yeah, I was saying last week, like even McCarthy, Bannigan, O'Hanlon, McInnesby, there's 4 lads that are going to need a serious eye on at the weekend, and obviously Donegal theirs, but Shane alluded to it there, but they're coming from everywhere. Kieran, the cornerbacks, and these boys are just, as soon as that kick out's gone, they seem to be just going, like, and on the Murphy thing, like, anybody's played with him or against him, and they know that he's such a good talker about the field too. Like, he's such a leader. There's leaders that come up with clutch plays, and then there's leaders that are talking around the field, and that's what he brings to that setup around the dressing room, on the field. And whenever he speaks, you listen, like, you're looking, going, right, he's on it here. He's looking around what we pockets, what we zones to pick up for kickouts and a whole lot. So in terms of that there, I'd be starting him every day of the week, like, especially in Clonus here too. Like, it's like his
I think definitely. But say
like,
if you were to get later in the championship and you thought if you're against Kerry and there might be a point or two with 10 minutes to go, the other thing is it's very detrimental for him to go off with 10 minutes to go, and because when he comes on, the aura of the team goes, and if he goes off, even the crowd seems to get depressed anytime he's ever went off. So but I think he's actually come back in better shape than he probably played his last 2 seasons. He's definitely did serious work. I thought he was slightly leaner, and he must be doing a lot of running.
No doubt. Yeah, I think it was plain to be seen there now, the shape of him the last wee while. But sure, he knew if he was going to make the decision to come back, like,
it was all or nothing with him.
Absolutely, and that wee break away from the whole thing does the world of good.
And who marks him, Kieran? Because I think Killian Laville's out injured, so he would have been probably the go-to on the edge of the square. But who picks him up, do you think?
See, it's an interesting one. I don't know if there should be.
I wouldn't man mark him.
No,
you try the system to prevent him.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Like, if you're concentrating too much on McBurdy and Mike Murphy, that was the past tense, like, of what you would have done back in the day. They were the 2 main shooters with the defensive systems and all. But now with the new rules and everything, like, the runners are the ones like Mogan and Moore and these boys off the shoulder, and McHugh. Like, Murphy's literally getting it, winning his primary possession and just shipping it, waiting till that man is going to go and dispossess him, and then just shipping it. And he could take 2-3 men out of the play with a fist pass. So you have to just make a decision on the spot. Are you going to tackle him? Are you going to stand off and maybe let him have a pot shot for a 2-pointer or something, or maybe just get a 1-pointer? Because nowadays conceding a 1-pointer isn't as bad a thing as people might make out to be. Because look at that scoreline at the weekend, 133 to 123. Like, so Wicklow scored 1-18 against Dublin yesterday, like, so it's just getting refocused. I've found even in that club game yesterday, when you score, it's just get turned, get set up, get back, get forward, get pushed, whatever it is. How you just have to be so.
Yeah, because years ago, you used to remember the Dublin players were told, don't waste energy celebrating a score, get back, get reset.
Yeah.
And even in the couple of clubs, it's get back out, get ready as quick as you can. And even though this kick out has to travel outside further than it used to, there's still the emphasis to get back up and get out. Again, in terms of Murphy, again, it's trying to stop the Donegal running game, which is. Monaghan were always very good in the middle third. They were one of the teams, a bit like Mayo, they were dispossessing teams further out the field. Donegal are very slick with the passing, and there's 2 and 3 runners coming, which makes it more difficult. If Murphy goes out to the middle of the field, you want as many people jumping with him as you can. Remember that first league game, he caught the ball with one hand behind the defender. And in some ways, the closer he is to the goals, whilst he's a greater threat, it might be easier to prevent the ball going to him. I think he's very dangerous when he drifts out and no one's really sure who's picking up. His decision making is first class, so he might be kicking it, but he will see, and he, as Kieran said, he's instructing guys what to do, and he's almost that, like a Roy Keane. Even if he's not playing well, he's so effective in his role out there. And yet again, you talk about these clutch plays. If there's a big free that needs to be hit, he could come on. He's not the free taker, and he'd still be the guy you'd want to hit it.
The kick-outs game we spoke about, Rory Began in part 1, Sean Patton, the probably Morgan's up there too, probably 2 of the best in the country at it, so absolutely. We're going to see, and we'll talk about matchups and everything else, whether they'll be marking each other. That matchup is key between Patton and Began of how this game's going to go. Without
a doubt, a lot come down to conditions again, and the breaking ball around the middle, but some sort of stat came out from the last day that Donegal got 10 or 11 scores off the Derry kick out.
I think it was 110.
Something like that, yeah. Something that's mad.
But I think they had targeted, we're going to attack their kick outs as much. Because everyone says, well, we need to win our own kick out. And their mentality is, no, we're going to win every kick out. But they really aggressively went after the Derry kick out,
Yeah, I've seen a couple of Patton's plays from when, behind the goals footage like that their half forward could make a sprint in, and if his man's following him, then it's going over the top, and if he doesn't follow him, so it's just a simple kick to get that 100% possession. Like, so it's all come down to that nowadays too, like the kick outs and the kick out percentages of winning and losing, like, and how you react to it too if you do lose it. I think that's another massive one. But the 2 boys will know this weekend, the eyes will be on them now from
do you think Monaghan will bring Rory out the field to try and force Donegal to aim for the other side of the field?
Potentially, yeah.
Remember, for your club, when you bring him out, immediately the kick out goes to the other side of the field, and it's so much easier for you. And I know that Trillick actually decided, let's put it on top of him and try and win the break. Couldn't do that either. Yeah. So I think that might be one way of dictating where Donegal's kick out goes. When they bring him out, nobody's going to want to put it out on top of him.
He's huge, like, and he's great hands.
Well, they'll do it from the start. Be interesting. I think they'll do it at some stage if they're maybe pressing the game or whatnot now. But and look at that kick out down the middle for Murphy too. Like, and as soon as Derry got a score, got the goal, like, obviously it was plain to be seen. This next kick out going straight down the centre and bang, catch off the shoulder, score, like, your score straight back off a goal. Like, it was a massive one, a massive play, and that's exactly one of the reasons why Murphy's back in there. So who picks up Murphy for that sort of thing? Like, I don't know, do we have the personnel they'll be talking about this week and seeing, trying to get him nudged out some way or another, or could be ringing Vinny or something maybe to see what way maybe. But yeah, it'll be this time next week we'll know a crack, but I think we could be in for a clinker. Hoping we're in for a clinker now.
I think Monaghan, regardless of what happens this weekend, Monaghan are going to surprise people come the end of the championship, and they make it to the group stage. Nobody wants them. They're not the eye catching Kerry, Galway, but Monaghan's in your group. You have to go there, and then group stages, nobody wants it. And because they're Division 2, there's an expectation that these Division 1 teams should go there. And again, as I just said there, I think Monaghan, regardless of what happens this Sunday, they'll surprise people before the end of the summer.
I think just going by their National League form, their scoring rates have been sensational, especially without Conor McManus, which was something you said at the start, Kieran. Maybe people expected Monaghan, once they were relegated, to maybe fall away. The news that McManus was retiring maybe strengthened that argument a wee bit, but they've been scoring from everywhere, and you have Jack McCarron in there who possibly playing a super sub role, again a bit like Murphy. There's a debate, is he going to start, will he come on, but they have a lot of players that are hopeful in front of the post.
Yeah, no, and like on paper, we have that, but this time last year you had Bannigan out injured, McInnesby's out injured, Began was in America, McCarthy had a hamstring, and O'Hanlon was out, so that there's the 4 or 5 boys that I've named. That's a complete centre of your team there, and that team's not going to survive in Division 1 without them boys, simple as that. So at the start of the year, whatever, October, November, they would have been saying Gabriel coming in, he would have been like, right, if we can get these guys bit of volume in the system, injury free, and a lot of time nowadays is potluck, getting injury free lads, but you just have to manage their loads, fortunately, whatever, but Andy and John McElhone have come in there now and brought a bit of freshness to the whole thing. So on paper, when Monaghan have a team fit there, it looks strong, so it does now. If Gary Moan's fit for the weekend, I'm not sure what the story is, but he'll be a big asset to have around there with Hugh McFadden and Thompson. And does he start Langan? Does he wait to take Langan on? And then you've Jason McGee there as well. They've a couple of thunderous big men around there. That it's easy for Patton to be like, right, well, I've missed my last short kick out. I've got 4 massive 5 men. Just I'm just going to strike the ball well here, and it's not my fault if I lose it, sort of thing. So that's the joys of two. And then on the flip side of that, there for Began, he needs to be able to hit a couple of big men, and to the start Andrew Woods to bring Jack on. That's going to be the intriguing one.
I think that poor Jack, there's a perception that he needs time on the ball, and then he's a very silky player. I think his style is a little bit lazier. It doesn't seem as rushed as everybody else. Again, I think he's one of those guys that if he's on form, he's very tricky. He can turn defenders inside out and make you look very stupid. We've all seen that toe tap dummy where everybody in the ground knows it's coming apart from the defender.
And
he's a game winner in him.
Of course there is. Yeah, so he's such an experienced part of that panel at the moment. And it's up to Gabriel and the boys to decide what to do with him. But if he starts, you'd imagine Brendan McCall will be doing a similar job, just following him everywhere. And then
I think they maybe should start him. I think it's imperative that Monaghan stay competitive for as long as they can. And I think if you're keeping a player like him off, by the time you introduce him, if the gap's 7-8, it's.
Yeah, the damage limitation.
And again, if Monaghan were playing somebody else, like Fermanagh or down, you could say, oh no, hold him back in reserve and bring him on. I just think against Donegal, Monaghan, bit like I said in Fermanagh, Monaghan need to come out as if they've only got 5 minutes left to live.
Yeah, that's true. I think
if you will wait and see what Donegal do,
Is that something maybe that could come down to the conditions again? Was it Meath? I think Monaghan had the reason they didn't start McCarron, but they took him on after about 10 minutes because he could kick the 2-pointers. Yeah,
well, there was an injury in there as well. I think a lot of people had thought that, but Jack came on that day and was just they knew the wind there, and he just sat out around the edge of the arc. But again, if that happens the weekend and there's a wind, there's going to be a guy in his face, you'd imagine too. And the matchup's going to be very, very intriguing now this weekend, I think. How do you curtail McCarthy and these guys, or how do you curtail Mogan? He's coming in under the radar there, he's still pinging scores out on that left hand side. But maybe you could be saying we don't mind him getting one or two out there as long as they're not getting in behind goals. But we can't be forgot about either now. Monaghan conceded a lot during the league too. So if there was one little thing I'd be slightly worried about is are they getting opened up a wee bit too easily in defence? But it'll be something they would have looked at.
I'd imagine Monaghan will prefer, if they can't tackle in that middle third, they'll probably back off. And again, if I'm coaching, if these guys are coming running from 50-60 yards, back up, let them take the shot. Don't spend all your time in the slip to someone like Murphy who's been standing there fresh. You know yourself, if you've beaten 2 or 3 players and run 35 yards, you're crying out to lay it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes in doing that, you dive in and the house is down, and that's that you concede goals then. Again, I actually think Monaghan they'll throw the kitchen sink at this from the start. I think there'll be a lot of big hits. It'll be very physical for the first 5-10 minutes, and then it'll probably settle down. Again, for me, will Monaghan be fit to keep the scoreboard ticking over.
Yeah, that's the big one. I think
You
if
know,
they need to get their scores in,
Yeah.
in the transition
Yeah.
plays. Like if they're dropping short or
and no
missing them,
wides, no wides or balls into the hands against Donegal.
that'll
They're
take the energy
it's
away.
criminal, like.
No better team to
Yeah.
take advantage of that than Donegal. Like, but it's nice to be able to, you know, look at it and have a bit of confidence. This time last year, you wouldn't have been. It's the game you didn't want, but now after a good decent couple of months there, like in the game in Clonus too, hopefully you're getting a 15,000-20,000 folk tipping that at
The only thing is Donegal are very familiar with Clonus now
Right
too.
about, yeah.
So they are.
Yeah.
I think that's most of the stuff covered. Now comes the tricky bit of predictions. So Shane, will start with you and give you a first word.
At the form, but you would have to say that Donegal's goal this year is championship. You know, Monaghan, they've got out of Division 2. Again, whilst I said I don't think a realistic expectation at the start of this season is we're going to beat Donegal after, and everybody knew Jim's second year is the year that the big push is going to be on. As I say, I think it'll be competitive. I think Monaghan will, as they always do, they'll overachieve. They'll be that Rocky Balboa. They may be against the ropes, but they won't quit. And they'll shock people. I don't see them winning this game though. I think Donegal will eventually wear them out. I just think that the range of scores, and as the game goes on, Donegal will make them shoot from further out. Their options, they'll punish on forced errors, and I just think their squad has been injury free and playing long together. Monaghan have a lot of men coming back from injury. Had they have had a run of 6 or 7 really competitive games, so I think Donegal will edge through, but it won't be a cakewalk like everybody expects.
Kieran, final word to you.
Yeah, I'd love to sit in the fence and go for a draw game and Monaghan on penalties. A tight one. Hopefully a tight one. Probably the best way of putting it. I just hope Donegal don't get an early lead. Come out with that energy as I mentioned earlier. Like, but Monaghan's sitting nicely there going into this one. They're after getting to watch Donegal 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, whatever it is. Like, and I'd definitely be going with hope, maybe more than expectation, but go for Donegal by 2 or 3.
So two down and 2 Donegal votes. That's what we're expecting to be the semi-final draw. That's all we have, folks. That's the end of our preview show. Thanks to Shane and Kieran for coming in and giving us their thoughts. Thanks to our sponsors, Hastings Hotels, and thank you for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday and we'll review all the championship action from the weekend. So see everybody then.